Hi everyone, and welcome to today's Halloween themed video. A lot of people ask me about the kind of findings that I find when I do bug bounty hunting, and I'm really sorry to tell you, but I don't find very good things. A lot of my findings are not like the super technical, super in-depth stuff. They're actually often a business logic error that I found because I was just exploring the app normally. So I'm going to talk about some of them, but I can't do that thing where people take an entire video to talk about just one vulnerability because mine will take me 5 seconds to explain. So that's what we're doing. Today's 3 stories are called Skeletons in the Closet and Other Tales from Beyond the Grave. Ooh. Yeah, some stories about bug hunting. Some of the stuff that I've found, some of the stuff that I found on real targets. So first of all, I can say we've got a giveaway. So Jason Haddix, if you don't know who he is, you probably live under a rock. But Jason Haddix is a fantastic hacker. He did the whole bug bounty hunter methodology thing. And genuinely, he is one of the best hackers. But more than that, he's such a genuinely nice person. And he is so helpful in sharing his knowledge through his Recon methodology. So he now runs this full course, and he's got 2 upcoming versions of this course. One is for an EU time zone, one is for a US time zone. But essentially, it's this 2-day course that goes over pretty much everything in some of his videos, and also gives you access to his Discord server where you can talk to people, so you'll meet other hackers. But he has given me this to give away to you guys for free. So if you want to win this giveaway, leave a comment below sharing one of your fun hacker stories, or if you don't have one, maybe of a friend or one you've just heard, and also your Twitter username or X username so I can actually contact you, because doing these giveaways before, that has been challenging. Please put in a Twitter username. I'm going to pick someone at random in the next 2 weeks from when this video gets released. You'll essentially get a code that you can use on this Gumroad website that will give you full access. You can go to either the EU or US one. So its usual cost is $550, but you get it for free. I cannot fully endorse the content of this, but what I can say is that Jason is a great hacker. He has done a lot of free talk, so if you're not sure, I'd actually really recommend you go and listen to one of his kind of free talks that he's got loads on YouTube, and see whether or not his teaching style actually gels with you, right? Because it's not always going to gel with every single person and what people like. Again, it's completely free to enter. He gave me the codes for free. I'm not being paid. He just sent me the code. Anyway, that's the giveaway. So just tell me a fun hacker story in the comments from you or a friend, or maybe just one you've heard through the grapevine, and I will contact one of you as a winner. This talk is one I delivered at a few different events, and it's about, or the kind of theme of this one, it's vaguely Halloween themed, and I do mean vaguely. It's all about weird vulnerabilities in forgotten pieces of code. So it's like bug bounty archaeology. And it's based on my own experiences and what I found as a hacker. So gather round the campfire, everybody, and as we come together and tell spooky stories of forgotten code and secrets best left in the dark. Okay, our first story is about API versioning. A story of backwards compatibility, and this one I picked Frankenstein as the kind of cover art here, and you'll see why. But quick introduction. Developers fucking love APIs. Developers really like APIs because what they can do is use them to build third-party integrations. And third-party integrations, oh my god, are they full of bugs. If you want to hack more business logic stuff, third-party integrations, great place to start. Genuinely, what a good place to start. And developer APIs are essentially APIs that is intended to be used by third parties. Now, a lot of APIs that we look at while we're hacking are not actually intended to be used by a third party like a hacker. A lot of them are intended to be used by just the application, right? It just makes the application easier to deploy and develop. Developer APIs are different because we get something we never see as API hackers: documentation. The most difficult part of API hacking, a complete lack of documentation. Because you can see these documentation, so here I picked the Twitter API. It wasn't on Twitter, but I've just shown it as an example. And this is even the old Twitter API, actually. So on the Twitter API, you can say, look up a specific tweet. You can show a specific tweet by its ID. You can look up the statuses for a user. You can update a tweet, like deleting it. And you can also have likes and favorites or whatever, right? And then they have this really detailed documentation to explain to you how you're supposed to do it as a developer. Now, if you do have any programming experience, really do take a look at these, because genuinely they are great places to find bugs as well in the developer side of actually implementing an app. And a lot of hackers are not very confident with actually programming. So in fact, you've got less competition as well. So it's good. Now, what happens when a company is done with an API? Well, it tends to get deprecated. You'd hope it gets deprecated because, for the most part, it's actually not deprecated. What tends to happen is that an API will go into this semi-frozen state where it will still work, so it doesn't break all those third-party applications, but it's not necessarily designed for people to be interacting with it. And it might be full of security flaws that are fixed, but security flaws nonetheless. When updating from 1.1 to version 2, again, this is the Twitter API, you can actually see that they've changed some of the names of things, they've gone in and changed things, but that older version of the API is still available, and it's still got vulnerabilities on it. And it affects the same data. Twitter doesn't have another old Twitter that it actually interacts with. No, you interact with the same users, the same database, the same objects, the same tweets. Everything is the same. Even though these APIs are older and they don't necessarily have all the security features, they're still there. Every single time you see an API, check for a version below. And it's, again, really helpful. Go through documentation if you're testing developer APIs and actually read what it's supposed to do, because it's a huge source of bugs. Next story is a long forgotten blog. This is from At the Mountains of Madness, which is one of my favorite books. And it's all about WordPress. WordPress is the bane of so many people's existence, but WordPress, it's not necessarily insecure by default, right? It's not necessarily bad, but if you forget to update the plugins or just leave them and then don't update them at all, they're super vulnerable. If you're not familiar with WordPress, WordPress is this all-in-one blog platform. It has media, it has pages, and then initially it was supposed to be like a blog. You could make a travel blog or a company blog or another type of blog. But especially in maybe 2010-ish, they went a bit crazy, because initially they had a Facebook and a Flickr that was all plugged into a website that happened to have WordPress. The new model means that everything runs WordPress. Everything on a website can be WordPress, from the blog posts to the plugins to the images to the videos there is so much you can do with WordPress. And this is all facilitated by WordPress's plugins. And there are a lot of WordPress plugins that all do different things. But I'm going to be honest with you, they are full of security vulnerabilities. And even though a lot of WordPress plugins have been abandoned literally for years, they still work, especially on older versions of WordPress, and they still have vulnerabilities in them that still haven't been fixed. My favorite one here is the top WordPress plugin that has one of the largest amount of installs, allows you to remotely execute PHP code in your WordPress. No, I don't think so. And also, there are these other ones. Anything that has quite a lot of flexibility is good here. When I worked at a company, we literally built, I say we, I didn't do it. The marketing company that we hired to build the website literally made this full-on dashboard with user accounts and a ton of business logic. And it was totally vulnerable, right? It was not really WordPress wasn't designed to do this, but it doesn't matter. And while you might see a lot of people saying, oh yeah, run WP scan and see what's there, actually in WordPress, the better place to start looking is the plugins and some of the plugins that have the most installs. If you do find something, you can use a Recon framework to find WordPress websites because they're actually really easy to notice and start to apply it over lots of different customers. Just WordPress itself has remote code execution, SQL injection, really severe vulnerabilities. And again, often WordPress isn't in its own little isolation tank. It's connected to everything else. So the next story and the final story I have for you today is called Test Code, Please Ignore. And it's all about how to use GitHub to find interesting vulnerabilities. I'm not much of a Recon hacker. Every Recon hack I've done, I'll be honest, has been a fluke. I am not good at Recon. I really struggle with interpreting all the data and figuring out what actually matters from it. But this is one place where it has been a success, and I will tell you why it's been a success. And this is from another H.P. Lovecraft, Shadow over Innsmouth. Version control. Now, version control is this way that programmers like to work. Many programmers can work on the same piece of code without breaking it for everybody else. To do this, they use something called Git. They used to use something called SVN and Mercurial if you're old. But the kind of one that's won the kind of fight for version control has been Git. So Git is a piece of software that runs in the command line, which creates a Git repository. And this is really important because you might be familiar with GitHub and GitLab, but that is software that runs because of Git, not what Git is. Git can be run entirely locally on your system, and it essentially allows you to do version control. So you can tell Git to update, like I've updated this file and this file. You can commit that, and there's a magic folder that appears in your file wherever you're working in the folder called .git, which then stores that commit history and says what has actually changed. This is different to GitHub, which is a service which hosts Git repositories. It has the nice graphical user interface, it's all web-based, and it always allows you to essentially share your code with other people and also download code. This, two different things, two different ideas. We're talking about GitHub, not Git itself. There are vulnerabilities that do affect Git. So the really common one is people accidentally committing this .git folder and making it public. That happens a lot. I've seen that a lot. GitHub issues, they are amazing. GitHub issues are so good for finding security vulnerabilities where there's an issue, but not necessarily an exploit yet, which means that you can be the person to find the exploit. So I really like to dig into GitHub issues whenever I go and hack something, especially something I know is running open source, because these give you such a great insight. So some great searches are things like CVE, security. You can sometimes find it in regular bugs as well. But the best part is the discussions. When a piece of code gets committed, users can actually comment on that issue. Let's say you have a GitHub page. Somebody reports a security vulnerability. That's fine. You get it fixed. Problem solved, right? When you go into there, you've got people arguing about the solution to that code, saying that it's still vulnerable to this or to that or whatever. The idea here is if you have a look at that discussion, you can see the security issue before anybody else has in some ways. It's not necessarily always going to be a brand new issue, and certainly you might get duped with the original issue anyway. But I really do need to dive in here and watch the discussions between them. In this case, this is the PHP Zerodinium CVE that came out where someone had intentionally modified the PHP code to allow for remote code execution on anything that has a user agent with the word Zerodinium in it. And then while a lot of people realize this very quickly, there's other commits that might just have the discussion but not the exploit yet. And of course, there is always hunting for secrets. There's this great repository of GitHub dorks that goes into so much detail. But for me, what I really like, so I look at quite a lot of Laravel stuff. Like PHP is my main programming language. You can send your RIPs in the comments for me. And we have .env files, and the .env files are great places to find passwords or debug modes left on. Really great, super useful. So that is the end. This was a quicker video to talk about some of the more boring vulnerabilities, but I still think it's important to talk about them. They're not the most interesting. The bounties for all of these were not going to ever be high, and certainly were less than I expected in some cases. But it's fine. That's bug bounty hunting for you, right? Like, it never always goes well. I think I'm going to make a few of these videos talking about, like, interesting bugs that I found. And if that's something you want to see more of, just let me know and I will share that. Do not forget our giveaway in the comments. Leave a comment sharing a fun story that happened to you or a friend of yours, and then put in your Twitter username so I can contact you. And in 2 weeks, I'm going to get a winner, and I'm going to be like, yeah, you're a winner. Well done. Good job. 2 upcoming time zones, so don't worry about too much about time zones. I've put the link to the course in the video description so you can take a look at it and see whether or not it's something you want to enter with. But it's also free, right? You may as well. Okay, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, everyone.